Well, welcome to another edition of More Bad News. I don't know, I woke up this morning and my hair was all gone. If you watch these videos, you'll see my hair changing constantly. I don't know how it happens. Anyway, I wanted to welcome you to another edition of More Bad News, brought to you by Camel Cigarettes. Remember that more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette, and that smoking tobacco is good for you. It improves your digestion, your concentration, it improves sex. It just, tobacco is what made America great. It was the foundation. The Native American peoples chose tobacco as spiritually uplifting, and it's done us well from the very beginning. So it's obvious now, I think, why we call the show More Bad News, because I think you can agree with me that the news is pretty bad. I wanted to make a remark about just the role in the context, okay, the context of my perspective on America. Remember that I believe that Western civilization is collapsing, that our species is headed for extinction. We're in the midst of a mass extinction event. And I believe that the American Republic, whatever that was, ended in 2016, that you no longer have a republic. What you have is a Republican Party bent on taking power against the will of the majority. And it's pretty obvious that a majority of Americans are not in favor of the Supreme Court rulings on guns and on abortion and on privacy, and coming soon on environment. So I wanted to say a few words just about the idea of progress. One of the fundamentals of the show is that everything that we ever thought we knew for sure has turned out to be untrue, completely false. And our ideas about progress is among that. We have a tendency to think that things are getting better and better and better. And we have a very hard time imagining that things are actually getting worse and worse and worse. One of the things that comes out of studying genocide is this apparent, clear lack of imagination. We cannot imagine that it's going to be this bad. No matter how bad it is, you can't imagine it's going to get worse. And obviously that's completely untrue. We don't want to admit this, but things are getting worse, and they're going to continue to get worse, and nothing is going to get better. We're not heading in any kind of positive direction, because we are on road to extinction, because our planet is no longer capable of sustaining life on any kind of civilizational level. And that we don't have really very much time left. So in that context, I think that, I'm looking at this as, yes, this is terrible news, but it's not the last or the worst of the terrible news that's coming. So brace yourselves. And I don't know how this is all going to play out. I only know that things are going to continue to decline. So I wanted to, and I guess let me say a couple of words on violence, the continuing rise of violence. It's pretty obvious that violence has profoundly impacted our school experience. Our children are now terrified, and practicing live shooter drills, terrifying and traumatic for the children. So the violence has completely disrupted our educational system, and teachers are retiring and leaving the teaching in droves, because it is absolutely horrendous to be a teacher today. It's really a difficult job. Our healthcare system is imploding, but the impact of violence on our political system is most pronounced. We're coming up towards midterm elections, and it's obvious that it's going to be very difficult to even have midterm elections because election workers are again leaving the field in droves because of the violence aimed at them. So the prospects that things are going to improve are dim, and we'll have to see what kind of reaction these last jolts have had. We'll see. We live in hope, is what my father used to say. So I wanted to just summarize the main point of my last week's talk, and I think that that'll be enough for this week. What I was focusing on really was the impact of an idea, one simple idea. Here's two civilizations. In one part of the world, people believe from ancient times, for whatever reason, that land could be possessed, owned, bought, and sold. And you saw that. That's what the point of Abraham and the Hittites was. It wasn't meant to be a biblical lesson. It was meant to be, they assumed, it was just assumed that you could buy this piece of land for silver and it would be yours forever. And that idea was pervasive throughout these cultures. The Hittites weren't, everybody assumed it was an idea that was pervasive in this civilization. And in another part of the world where there were tens and tens of millions of people and thousands of years of evolution and 500 different societies and vast differences in language, you had no one who ever thought of that idea that land could belong to human beings. They all thought from the Arctic to Patagonia that the earth was mother and that we belonged to the earth. And as a result, you have two different civilizations that are absolutely diametrically different. In one civilization, you have no jails, no courts, no cops, no laws. It's just no stratification, no difference between rich and poor. Yes, there are exceptions to that, and you have religious theocracies that are authoritarian in Latin America, but you also overwhelmingly don't have the phenomenon that you had in the rest of the world in Europe, where you have people who have vast amounts of wealth because they own land, and people who own no land and therefore are landless peasants and who have to pay to exist on the land. So the idea of the thought behind the whole lecture was how reality is molded by our conceptions, that what we see, we create the reality. All right, so that's enough for today. I'm going to call that today's talk, and I'm headed off for the Pride celebration in North End Park.